Okay, here we are, Pine Glen Campground, Talladega National Forest. I was talking about on my hike a bunch of the different oak species that I was seeing. I think I saw like 7 or 8. Basically, they're going to be divided into 2 classes. Basically, the red oak, which can be delineated by points and kind of deep incised lobes. These are the lobes, so they're incised. They come back to the midrib. They have a very tough stem. That's pretty much indicative of all the oaks. That's why they're one of the last trees to lose their leaves besides the American beech. And this leaf is what I would call spatulate, because it looks like a spatula, and that's an actual description in Latin is spatulate. So that's in the white oak. So 2 divisions. Essentially, everything's either going to fall in the red oaks or the white oaks, and the white oaks are going to encompass swamp white oaks, chestnut oaks, this type of oak. I'm not very well versed on all the different species down south, but when I post pictures, I'll do a little research. This guy looks to me like a pin oak. Pin oaks have that very defined point. Also, with all these different species, and here's a turkey leaf oak, which is pretty cool. The turkey leaf, because it looks like a turkey foot. Botanically, I could guess that could be Tricuspidata or Trilobia. And then here's just a Juglans nigra, a black walnut that I found, and we're sitting over underneath a black walnut. And it's not a heavy year, because otherwise you wouldn't dare sit underneath that. It'd be like getting bombed. And all the different acorns. Every oak species has a different acorn. So this one, I'm not really sure of which, but they're black. I see the least amount of those. The most diminutive size is going to be the pin oak. They have the smallest acorn. And then you have another one that looks like a chestnut oak, right up to, maybe a swamp white oak. And then you have one that's really elongated. Not sure what that oak is. That could also be maybe a chestnut oak, but it's just, there you go. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different sizes of the acorns, and it's just a huge mass crop, this entire foothill Appalachia Trail. It's really interesting to see, again, all the different species and all the different acorns, but just the woods are just loaded with them. So it's really cool. So that's a little brief intro on the oaks. I also took some pictures of oak leaf hydrangea, and they're called oak leaf hydrangea because they look like oak leaves. And in my trade, I used to plant a lot of them. I love them. They're a semi-shade type plant. They get fairly sizable. They're very floriferous. They flower a lot. They're just a really cool plant. They get the leaves turn from kind of a crimson to almost a burgundy. Real cool plant. So it finishes its fall color, and then the flowers persist on that through winter if you don't deadhead them. So you have a nice winter interest of the flowers. But I'll post pictures of all the different oak species that I saw today, and I'll try to do a little more description as to what they are species-wise. All the genus for oak is Quercus, Quercus. So we use, I use Latin when I identify plants because it's exact, whereas common names are kind of arbitrary. What you call something, somebody could call something else, and nobody's either right or wrong. But if you're botanical nomenclature, you're pretty much dead on with your description. So that's why the hydrangea is quercifolia, because it means that the foliage is oak-like. So that's our lesson in trees on the Appalachia today, specifically in the oak family, with a little black walnut thrown in just for kickers. And if you ever see them, they're really cool because they have a citrus smell to them. These guys almost have to be frozen before you can really crack into them. It's a fleshy pulp that's pretty soft, and inside it looks just like a walnut, and it's black, of course, in color. And I think a lot of that coloration comes from this fleshy pulp that's around it that protects it. And one other side note on this tree, the black walnut has a beautiful fall color. It's a compound leaf, and it's got a thing in the botanic world called oleopathy, which means that it produces its own herbicide, and it does that to reduce competition. And this is probably one of the most revered trees in the northeast, southeast for the wood. This has some of the nicest, finest grain. The best furniture is made in gun stocks, things of real high quality with the black walnut, and the wood is super ebony in color. It's not quite ebony, but it's as dark brown as you're going to find in any tree in the north or southeast of the country. So there's my tree lesson today. Hopefully you learned something, you enjoyed it, and that's another day outdoors with Kat.